Hi, this is Kendra with Truest TV, and I'm back with another video, guys. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. I'll try to make this video not too long, but make sure y'all go check out that previous video because it's good. All right, because it's good. All right, so I'm gonna read this passage. I got this passage from off of Pinterest. This history book. Clearly, you see the title: "History of the North American Indians, Their Custom, Etc." Right. So I wanted to just read this passage. Just to give you some context. Hopefully it'll let me read it so that you guys can see it. But okay, we're gonna start. So it says, the Indians are of a copper red clay color. And I want to just show y'all that. So y'all seen this little example in a previous video that I made. If you haven't, go check out them other two that I just posted, who they are. And in the other in the other video, that was before it. All right, and then, so it gives you a diagram of brown, right? So we got the brown, yellow, bronze, amber, that's in the brown. And we got the black bronze, that's in the middle, that's be near in black. And then we have the reddish, the red, brown, copper color, which that is my hue of complexion, especially in the sunlight. But sometimes I can be black bronze, very much when I'm in very heavy sun. Like if I'm in Florida, actually when I'm in Florida, I'm sometimes the reddish brown, but I'm definitely a lot of the black bronze in a very hot climate. But anyway, getting back to the read. The Indians are of a copper and red clay color, and they delight in everything which they imagine may promote and increase it. So again, y'all saw what the color is, that reddish clay color, letting you know that it is that mahogany reddish brown, and they delight in their hue of complexion. So that lets you know self-hate came from white people. Colorism, that's a white thing, because we didn't have that. We delighted in our dark brown skin. We liked it, and we would do anything to complement it, right? As he's saying right here in this passage. He said accordingly, right? He said, which they imagine may promote and increase it accordingly. Their hue of a complexion, he's talking. He said they paint their faces with vermilion as the best and most beautiful ingredient. If we consider the common laws of nature and providence, hope I'm saying that right, we shall not be surprised at the custom of them liking themselves and how they look in their hue. For everything love best its own likeness, right? And place in likeness and place in the creation, right? They like their likeness and where they are, right? They like themselves and everything about themselves, which we did at one point, right? Before racism and all this other silliness that came about. All right, so let's keep going. I'm just gonna park in here, y'all. Bear with me. I'm driving always. All right, so we shall not be surprised at this custom, for everything loves best its own likeness and place in creation, right? And is disposed to ridicule its opposite. So we will, anything that don't look like us, we tend to kind of criticize or ostracize it in a way. It said, if a deformed son of burning Africa was to paint the devil, he would not do it in black color, nor delineate, I hope I'm saying that, himself with shaggied, coarse woolly head, nor with thick lips, short, flat noses, and clumsy feet, like those of a bear. His devil would represent one of a different nation or people, right? So he's just letting you know that, if he's going to talk negative or depict something evil, it's not going to be of his own kind, because he's partial to his own. He's going to, draw another nation or people. And it goes, but was he to draw an agreeable picture? But was he to draw an agreeable picture according to the African taste? He would dab it all over with sooty black. Okay? With sooty black. All the Indians are so strongly attached to and prejudiced in favor of their own color that they think as meanly of the whites as we possibly can do of them. Meaning, so we didn't have not so nice thoughts of so-called, if they were white, right? Because they could have been socially white, meaning they had wealth, but their skin tone were dark. If this is a Spanish, Portuguese, or sometime the black European that came over to America, right? So it says, okay, possibly can do of them. The English traders among them experienced much. So they talking about the English. English were also black or had brown skin. Experienced much of it and are often very, I can't see that word right there, often very something, to be allowed to pass muster with the Indian chieftains as fellow brethren. Are often very, I can't really see that word. I wish I could, but what's the name? Are often very something, to be allowed to pass muster with the Indian chieftains as fellow brethren. So it's, they have a bit of a hard time, the English, due to the American Indian being partial to that kind. Now, that does not mean that these English were white. Again, because there are many ways that we as brown-skinned people find differences, even in customs. Like, again, I don't know the histories of Jamaicans and Trinidadians, but they don't care. Jamaicans and Trinidadians don't care for each other, despite them both being of Arawak and Taino descent. They have disdain somewhere along the line for each other's. And even Jamaicans being of the same stock as us Central American Indians, they also don't always care for us Haitians, also being the same stock of us American Indians in Central America or Northern America. They also sometimes are not partial to us Central American Indians. So it can also be due to custom, religious practice. Prejudice don't always have anything to do with looks, meaning your features or phenotype. Could also have something to do with the whole way that they address themselves, or their customs and culture, right? So just to put that out there. To throw in here these Choctaw triplets, full-blooded Choctaw Indians haven't been apart since. All right, so these are full-blooded Choctaw Indians. And yes, I talked about our hair. Now, when it came to hair, we're always talking about whether or not the hair is straight, whether or not, now they could be mixed with Chino slaves that came from Sri Lanka or Indonesia, and that's why the hair might be a little bit more straight or coarse, but they say they're full-blooded Choctaw. Now, we can have any type of hair texture, right? Straight hair, it'll always come with, it could be this texture straight, but with a wavy pattern, as I said before, or it can be textured straight, but with a curl pattern, a more curly pattern, which we tend to have. Or it could be textured as kinky, but with a curly or wavy pattern, right? That's oftentimes, the hair textures that us American Indian, us so-called black people have. But I'm just showing you, and the reason why I zoomed in, you can read about Ronald Donald and Harold Murphy, were born 20 minutes apart in August of 1957. All right, and these are full-blooded Choctaw Indian boys from Oklahoma City, okay, who are athletes, okay? You can go read about them, but I'm just showing you they would be considered Negro-colored and black And there go that mahogany, that red that I was talking about. Look at their hue of complexion, right? They look at the hue. Look at that hue right there that I'm talking about. That red clay hue, that copper red clay color. Go here, red, brown, copper color. Okay, to give you a visual. All right, we're going to read this article. And this article is fictitious, y'all. So I'm going to point out to y'all where somebody tried to lie about the complexion of this American Indian. And you're going to see it. Because this is, and it's so sad. Run away from the subscriber in North Kingstown on or about the 6th of October last. And I guess they meant to say indentured. And again, these people retype articles with, you can retype an article and blot things out with whiteout in a typewriter. Know that. And you'll have that done sometime. Right? So they messed up and they wanted, it was supposed to say an indentured Indian boy, right? But instead it says indented, make it make sense. Indentured Indian boy named John Anthony, about 16 years old and about 5 foot, so they say, they about 5, you see the 5, which they use the typewriter, that's why it doesn't align up correctly, 5 feet high with long black hair. They also use the typewriter with the black hair, that's why it's darker than the long and the width. I'm just pointing out truth. I'm telling you now, I'm just pointing it out. Indentured, they messed up, but even Indian boy is bigger and darker. Now you could say that that's just the font, whatever, but look right here where you see something has clearly been blotted out under the black, something has been whited out. So more was on this page or something behind it, got oil or something on it and it exposed itself to the front. I don't know, but needless to say is there's typos in this. With long black hair, thickest and pretty light colored hat on. Now that don't make sense. So what it seemed like they were trying to do, and I don't know what thick fit and pretty, I don't know, because they made it one word and sometimes the F looked like an S. I mean the S looked like an F. So thickest and pretty light colored, and then they got these quotations, so it doesn't tell you what was thick, light colored, and it just says light colored hat on when he went away. Okay, when he went away, a linen, okay, now they describing what he's had on allegedly, right? Shirt and breeches, old shoes, stockings, double breasted striped jacket, an old light colored jacket, an old felt hat bound with white cloth. Whoever will apprehend said runaway and deliver him to his master or confine him in any of his master's goals so that his master may have him again shall receive $3 reward and necessary charges paid by a John Northup. Mind you, the boy name is also John Anthony. All masters of the vessel and others are hereby forewarned carrying off or harboring said boy, as they would answer the same on their peril. And this was, somebody tried to blot out the year. I'm assuming this was 1989 or 1892, 1890. They tried to blot out the time, so maybe it was 1892, I don't know why it's blotted out, but again, you can't see. But anyway, that's a little article that I wanted to read about in Runaway Indian. And this is just an attachment to, what are we, Negro or Indian? Because you saw the diagram of, the picture of us supposed to being, you see this, and these are supposed to be runaway Negroes This lets you know they call Indians Negro. It also lets you know that we will no longer, 1924 Racial Integrity Act, we will no longer cast these people as Indian but Negro colors and black. All right. It was not before, when they would call Indians Negroes, it was not law to do it. It wasn't law to call Indians Negro until 1924 Racial Integrity Act. No, we pretty. All right. So I wanted to just read this passage as well. The Northern Californians round the Klamath Lakes and the Klamath, Trinity, and Rogue rivers are tall, muscular, and well-made, with complexions varying from nearly black to light brown in proportion to their proximity to or distance from the ocean or other large bodies of water. Their face is large, oval, and heavily made, with slightly prominent cheekbones, nose well set on the face and frequently straight, and eyes which, when not blurred by, I don't know how to say that, ophthalmia, I don't know how to say that, are keen and bright. The women are short and some of them quite handsome, even in the Caucasian sense of the word. And we know we're attractive. But anyway, I just wanted to do that little read, y'all. Make sure y'all like, share, and subscribe to Kinfolk with Truest TV. And y'all, again, this is just the second part to who we think we are. All right? And how do we know who we are? Matter of factly. You know what I mean? Need I say any more? I'm just going to go through these pictures of the depictions of American Indian. I'm going to actually translate some of these Spanish books. You know, here we go. Arawak Indians, so-called black Puerto Ricans, are in Indian Spaniard scene. Right there go that red color. Mississippi's Chanta Aborigines. Be careful though with some of these, because some of them could be Chino slaves. Okay? Or coolies. All right, here go early depictions. Your Chippewa were predominantly black Afro-American, whatever that is. Father Lewis Hempin wrote about the black Native Americans in Dakotas. As usual, we see villages where the Native American tribes were either Mongoloid or black. Nobody ever seen anybody Mongoloid. And again, it depends on the time. No, the Nodeweeses were Dakota black Native American or Indians. They are part of the, I don't know how to say that, Sunan family, known as Saukes, how it says, name of Chippewa, namely, and again, I said this in a diminutive or Nado, I don't know how to say it, are enemies to the Mongol Indians. There's no. So I want to stand and let y'all know there were no Mongol Indians. Those Mongols that you see, we all know are Chino slaves. I'm not going to get into that. They know they're not Indian. And I don't care what they say. They could never be and they will never be. Those Indians that are calling themselves, they know they Asian slaves. And if this article was written prior to 16 or during the time of, I mean, not prior to, after 1618, that lets you know that's because that's what those people came here. They were acclimated in either through marriage, and you'll read that in Asian Slave in colonial Mexico, how some of them Chino slaves would marry into American Indian society, and that's how they, and then they started to, when the blood quantum rule came up, they used that to gain the lands of their the people they entered, the black people, or Indian tribes that they acclimated themselves into. They are not, there were none of these tribes existed, and no, none of those tribes existed. Mongol, I don't care what this man say, he couldn't convince me. If they can't, they don't want to completely let go of being American Indian. So they try to put themselves there, and they try to get people to put them there. Mongols, no, they were never here in America. Point blank, period. They weren't the first to be in here. They surely ain't gonna be the last. But they were not here at all. We were the only Indians, hence why nobody else seen them. Right? If I go research Lewis Hennepin, we can do just that. We are searching. When they can't disprove that the American Indians all were black, they try to add Mongols in there to help them stay with that blood quantum BS, to help them stay being Indians. Mongols weren't here. We were the original inhabitants of this land. Okay, so see, this is what I mean. He was here May 12. He was born May 12, 1626. So he died in 17. So he would have got into America sometimes when the like I said, the Asian slaves in colonial Mexico were here. Let's see what year. Now this is scary right here, because I'm talking junk, but it says more than 250,000 Chinese and 500,000 Asian Indians were shipped to the New World between 1840 and 1870s under a new system of slavery. But we know that the Filipinos were here before white folk. And this is why I want y'all to understand some of this history, all this stuff that we think we know. Let me tell you something. These white people they play games. Come on. Okay. I was looking kind of for a time frame because I know that you listen. Anyway, Chino slaves, a group of Asian slaves, arrived in Mexico in the late 16th century to 17th century. Chinos were categorized as such upon arrival in Mexico and were grouped together. After 1672, Chinos were treated as Indians by the law and became indigenous vassals of the Spanish crown. Hear what they said? Hear what they said? They became indigenous vassals of the Spanish crown. This legal change meant the Chinos could no longer be held as slaves, but in fact, they made them indigenous. That's how you got your slaves that used to be Asian turned into Indians. Now all y'all Mongols sitting up there to calling yourself Indians, that's how you became an Indian. You are not originally from America, as it is stating. Chinos were categorized as such upon arrival in Mexico and were grouped together. Legal status: after 1672, Chinos were treated as Indians. They were treated as Indians by the law and became indigenous vassals. Right? Indigenous means native, right? Indigenous vassals of the Spanish crown. So the Spanish crown took you from being a Chino slave and made you an indigenous vassal of the Spanish crown here in America. The legal change meant that Chinos could no longer be held as slaves. So it gave you your freedom, because in 1608, American Indians were set free from all slavery. So the Spanish turned around and in 1672 did the same for you and made you indigenous. So please do not tell me anymore that you are a freaking American Indian, because you are not. You are a indigenous vassal of the Spanish crown, but you are technically a Chino slave that does not belong and is not an aboriginal to America. We don't care about their legal status law that they made in 1672 that still does not make you an American aborigine. Be done with it. I'm done. I state my case. Again, this is Kendra with True Us TV. Stay up, stay blessed, put God first above all else. Peace.